Hi, I'm Rafael, and this is the story of how I almost destroyed my school's soccer team, and how I discovered the true meaning of being a captain. It was the semi-final of the championship. The score was tied. There were 2 minutes left in the game, and we were awarded a penalty. I was the captain, and everyone was looking at me. So many things were going through my head at that moment. I looked at the stands, looked at my teammates, picked up the ball, and did something unexpected. But before I tell you how it ended, let me take you back to the beginning. I've always loved soccer. Ever since I was a kid, I played every day at the neighborhood field. I always dreamed of becoming a great player, and when I joined the school team, it felt like my dream was starting to come true. Except being the captain wasn't what I imagined. When the coach chose me, I was super excited. The idea of leading the team filled me with pride. I thought it was about being the best player on the field, scoring the winning goals, but I soon realized it wasn't that simple. In the first few weeks, I started feeling the weight of it. When we won, it was fine, I got the praise. But when we lost, it felt like all the failures were my fault. It got worse when we started losing important games. I would stay up for hours, thinking about the mistakes I made. And the worst part was that I started distancing myself from the people I loved. At home, my mom noticed I wasn't doing well. One day, after another loss, she said, "Son, you're acting strange. You don't seem like yourself. You're so distant." I answered defensively. "I'm fine, Mom. It's just a lot of pressure with school and soccer. I'll figure it out." She gave me that look, the one that says she knows everything, but she didn't push. Still, I knew she was worried. And honestly, I was too. Things got worse after we lost our second game in a row. The pressure was building, and I could tell the team was starting to doubt me. In the locker room after the loss, the atmosphere was heavy. I could feel the looks of disappointment. Pedro, our goalkeeper, was the first to speak, his voice a little shaky. "Rafa, the defense is all over the place. I can't organize the line like before." I looked at him and just muttered, "It's not your fault, Pedro. We'll improve." But inside, I knew he expected more from me. I was letting them down. The next day at school, a group of kids started making jokes about our losing streak. They teased me in the hallway. "Hey, Captain, when are you going to give us a win?" "It's getting embarrassing, huh?" I forced a smile, but it was eating me up inside. Those taunts made me doubt myself even more. That day during practice, I felt the weight of everything. Every bad pass felt like another step toward failure. João, our striker, missed an easy shot, and that's when I lost it. "Man, you need to focus. You can't keep messing up like this." He glared at me and shot back. "And what about you, Rafael? You think you're playing well?" "Because nobody here is seeing it." That caught me off guard. The whole team went silent, and I felt like I was losing control as a leader. On the way home, my girlfriend, Luisa, called me. She could tell something was wrong. "Rafa, you're not okay. I know it's the soccer, but you're taking this too far." I tried to brush it off. "It's nothing, just pressure. It'll pass." But she insisted. "I just don't want this to push us apart. You need to stop putting so much pressure on yourself." I hung up the phone with that sinking feeling that she was right. But how? How could I stop, when everyone was depending on me? At dinner, my mom brought it up again. "You're not yourself, son. This soccer thing is draining you." You used to be so happy playing. What changed? I didn't know how to respond. What had changed? Maybe it was the pressure of leading, maybe it was the fear of failure. That night, I lay awake thinking about everything. The next day at school, the teasing continued. During lunch, a kid who wasn't even on the team said to me, "Man, if I were you, I'd let someone else be the captain. Looks like you can't handle the pressure." I held back from responding, but that comment stayed with me. Was he right? I started isolating myself even more. At practice, I couldn't lead or even listen to the team. I was just blaming myself for the mistakes. Every bad pass felt like proof that I wasn't good enough. My confidence was crumbling, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I was on the verge of giving up. I thought about asking the coach to pick a new captain. The idea of walking away seemed so tempting. But deep down, I knew that would be running away. And I didn't want to be a coward. The pressure kept building. I didn't know what to do anymore. That's when Coach Almeida asked to talk to me. He looked at me seriously, but there was a kindness I didn't expect. "Rafael, I can see you're putting too much pressure on yourself. You think you need to fix everything on your own, but that's not true." I tried to defend myself. "But coach, if I don't do it, who will? I'm the captain." He smiled, like he had heard that a million times before. "That's where you're wrong. A good captain doesn't carry the team alone. He trusts others. You need to learn to trust your team." Those words kept echoing in my head. I wasn't trusting my team. Instead, I was trying to do everything by myself, as if I were the only one responsible for every mistake. At the next practice, I decided to take a different approach. Instead of yelling at the team, I decided to listen. I talked to Pedro first. He said he was feeling insecure because he couldn't organize the defense by himself. Then I went to talk to João, who told me he was dealing with issues at home, and it was affecting his focus during the games. Little by little, I realized that each of them had their own struggles, and I was being selfish, thinking I was the only one feeling the pressure. After that conversation, something changed in me. I started to realize that the team needed support just as much as I did. And my role as captain wasn't to carry the team, but to help them overcome their struggles. With this new mindset, I started leading differently. In practices, instead of criticizing, I encouraged. When someone made a mistake, I would say, "Come on, everyone makes mistakes, but we can improve together." The team started to respond. The confidence was coming back. And with it, our unity on the field, too. At school, the teasing began to die down. Maybe it was because I seemed more confident, or maybe people were starting to notice the team was changing. I started talking to Luisa and my mom again. I apologized for pushing them away and promised I'd try not to let soccer consume me. In the next few games, we got 2 important wins. I was finally leading the team the way I should, trusting them and helping, instead of trying to fix everything myself. But the biggest test was still ahead. Then came the day of the semi-final, and the nerves were in the air. The whole team knew what was at stake. But, for the first time, I felt calm. I trusted the team, and I knew that together, we could play a great match. It was time to put everything we had trained into action. The game started off balanced. Both teams were sizing each other up, and there were few chances to score. Our defense was solid, and Pedro was playing brilliantly as our goalkeeper. But at the same time, our attack couldn't break through their defense. Time was ticking, and the score remained 0-0. In the second half, we started pressing harder. João had a few chances, but the ball just wouldn't go in. With only 5 minutes left in the game, I saw an opportunity. I received the ball at the edge of the box, dribbled past 2 defenders, and got taken down inside the area. The ref blew the whistle. Penalty. The entire stadium went silent. This was our big chance. I grabbed the ball and got ready to take the shot. Everyone expected me to be the one to decide the game. After all, I was the captain. But something inside me told me it wasn't my moment. I looked at João. He was nervous, but I knew how hard he'd been working in the past few games. He needed a chance to regain his confidence. And in that moment, I realized my true role as captain was to lift my team. Without hesitation, I walked over to João and handed him the ball. He looked at me, surprised. "Rafa, are you sure?" I smiled and said, "I trust you. You've got this." He took a deep breath and stepped up to the penalty spot. The entire stadium was silent. I could feel my heart racing, but I knew I had made the right choice. João adjusted the ball, looked at the goalkeeper, and kicked. The ball went one way, the keeper dove the other. It was in. Goal! The stadium erupted in celebration. João ran over to me and hugged me. The whole team joined in. That goal wasn't just our victory in the semi-final. It was proof that when we trust each other, we can overcome any challenge. We left the field with the win, but what mattered most that day was that I learned the true meaning of being a captain. And it wasn't about being the hero. It was about being a leader. After the game, Coach Almeida came over to me with a smile on his face. "Now you get it, Rafael. Now you understand what it means to be a true captain." I smiled back. I finally understood what he had been trying to tell me all along. Leadership wasn't about carrying the team on my shoulders. It was about helping, motivating, and trusting the people around you. When I got home that night, my mom was waiting for me in the living room. She hugged me and said, "I'm proud of you, my son. Not because you won the game, but because you've become the leader I always knew you could be." Those words meant everything to me. For the first time in months, I felt truly at peace with what I was doing. The next day at school, everything felt different. The teasing had stopped. People looked at me with respect, not because I had won the game, but because I had acted like a true captain. Someone who thinks about the team and does what's best for everyone. During practice the following week, João came over to me. "Thanks, Rafa. I don't know if I would have made that penalty if you hadn't believed in me." I patted him on the back and said, "You always had it in you, João. You just needed to believe." From that moment on, our team was never the same. We were more united than ever. Luisa and I also worked things out. She told me she was happy to see me more relaxed, more confident. I explained that I had finally understood that I didn't need to carry everything on my own. She smiled and said, "That's how you become a great leader. Doing your part and helping others do theirs." My life off the field got better too. I refocused on my classes and started getting good grades again. Soccer was still important, of course, but I had learned how to balance things. And for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely happy. In the final game of the championship, we were ready. We walked onto the field with confidence, not because we knew we were going to win, but because we trusted each other. And that was the real victory. This was the story of how I learned the true meaning of being a captain. It's not about being the hero. It's about motivating, helping, and trusting your team. Making everyone think and work together. And that lesson goes far beyond soccer. I'm Rafael, and today, if there's one thing soccer has taught me, it's that in life, just like in sports, helping and trusting the people around you can be the key to reaching any goal. Did you like my story? Then subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hit the notification bell to know when the next story is up. See you later.